Hey everyone, welcome to this week's show. I am your champion and commissioner, Team Ramrod, and with me is Team Rockets GM Kyle.
Howdy.
Now, this is what it's all about, boys. 1 week left till we start the battle for this beauty. Will we have a new name on it, or will a repeat champion show up? We'll find out. But 7 of those 8 spots are now taken care of. They're all occupied. So there's only one spot up for grabs, and really there's a surprising holder of that spot right now.
There is.
We'll see what happens here. But I guess let's get into last week's results.
Let's do it.
So before we get into that, I guess like you and I both went 6 for 8 in our predictions.
Oh, okay. Who do we get wrong?
The tie,
Oh yeah, of course.
and you went against Corey,
That's correct. Yeah.
and I went against Sean.
Ah, okay.
But yeah, we balanced out. So 6 out of 8 for both of us.
Not too
Uh,
bad.
so I guess first we'll talk about, as we always do, the champion, because that's just how it shows up in my list. It always puts me at the top, right? It would do the same for you when you check your list. Le Champion, Team Ramrod, now clinching second place in combination with my win and a tie that happened. So Le Champion will finish second after defeating Patches O'Hooligan, who's not out, but he's in a rough spot. So what happened here?
Yeah, so this is a tight matchup, and for a while, when I was looking at the standings, maybe on Thursday, I was like, all these standings are wrong for me, for me to clinch, and then they all went so very right for me to clinch. Now, did I want it to work out that way? Not exactly, because the way it works out is that it has me potentially facing you in the first round, which is what I'm trying to avoid. But yeah, so he had a lead, and it looks like some of your guys come up big with some massive assists, like Heiskanen with 6 assists, McDavid, no surprise there, 5 assists, Kachuk with 4 assists. And I think that pushed you over the edge to give you that 7-6 win, because otherwise you guys were splitting it. And I mean, and you came up big with the game-winning goals, 3.
Yeah, my boys played this week. Wednesday, he made his last pickup for the week. I knew what I was working with as of Wednesday, and I strategically planned out the rest of my week to get the man games I needed to get the stats I needed. So the only one that I think I went wrong with was my pickup on Sunday, but I didn't really need him. It was just more of a luxury. I'm like, I'm going to make this pickup just because I can and give myself an edge. But
Yeah.
I didn't need it. What really happened was my goalie stepped up and won me some games to tie wins because I was down in wins the whole week.
Oh yeah, and why did your goalies do so well? Who came back?
Freddie came back and really fucked some shit up for some people because he let
Oh
in
yeah.
3 goals all week in the 2 games. The one goal, I watched the video yesterday, like the one goal was his mistake. Shouldn't have happened. He's over at the side of his net. He passed it out and it went to the guy, like empty net. Like dumb
Yeah.
mistake. Luckily, it didn't hurt me because I was already losing goals against average and save percentage, so it didn't matter.
Yeah.
But Freddie coming back is huge for Team Ramrod. Um, I was a little aggravated on Friday because his goalie got a shutout. Ingram got a shutout. But then
Mm.
that same night, Brossois got a shutout. So I'm like, okay,
It
at
evens
least
out.
I'm taking that point away from him, right? So,
Yeah,
uh,
because otherwise they're looking at a tie.
yeah, yeah. So my boys played. I won. I won the categories I should have won. Yeah. So I'm happy with the shape of my team going into the playoffs here. I got a tough opponent this week, but he can't catch me, so I'm all right.
That is very true.
Speaking of my opponent for this week, Braden's bitch. 13-7-1 in third place now after tying Captain Crunch. Domo now at 9-11-1 in 12th place, hanging around that playoff spot, but just not enough for him to get in unless like something goes crazy wrong. I think everyone that he's tied or that he's 1 point behind has to lose. And then two of them are playing each other. I think they would have to tie, and then if he has a tiebreaker, I don't know if he has a tiebreaker. So I think he's pretty much
Yeah. So in the event that would happen, he would actually jump ahead of them because the tiebreaker uh, would be your previous week, and so he would have won, and they would have tied. So then
uh,
he gets yeah. So that's how that works. So if that event were to occur, he would have the tiebreaker on them, but he needs Kyle to lose and Daltrey to lose. Daltrey is playing Dre,
yeah.
so that's a tough one. Uh, and Kyle is playing Braden.
That's a good finish to the schedule for Kyle.
Yeah, it could not work out any better. If he loses, he doesn't deserve to be in the playoffs. Like, quite frankly.
So what happened in this matchup, this tie?
Um, yeah, I mean, like Domo was sneaky good, and really, like Travis is lucky to get a tie out of this because when you look at like Domo's goalie stats, a 1.98 GAA, he lost. A 932 save percentage, he lost. Travis put up insane goaltending numbers. Um, and yeah, so Travis is lucky to walk away with a tie, quite frankly. And we talked about this. We're like, yeah, Doma might be out, but he's playing to win every single week, and he's a tough opponent for a guy who's not in a playoff spot.
Yeah, and you know what? I appreciate the effort he's put in to still compete, right? That's what you want to see. You don't want to see someone just tank out and not put any effort in. That's just not good for the league, right? So to
No,
really what to draft first when there's no real franchise player that's out there, you just get a really good player for next season, right? You're not getting a guy who's like going to revolutionize your keepers or anything like that.
no. I mean, the other thing we got rid of that, right? So we do the draw.
Yeah, that's
So
right. The lottery.
there's no sense in tanking after you're eliminated.
That's right. Well, good on
Have fun,
Domo
be a
for
spoiler.
pushing Travis to a point, to a tie. You know, I like that. I like that
Yeah,
for many reasons. Travis now can't catch me, so the best Travis can finish is third. But
might
yeah,
finish fourth.
he might. It's a big. It was a big matchup, right? So, good on Domo for getting a point. Good for Travis even for salvaging a point, right?
Yeah,
So a point's a point. Take it.
yeah. I mean, like it was back and forth all week, and they both fought hard and a tie.
Yeah. Team RKO throwing in the towel last night in the chat, officially stating that his season is over. 9-11-1 in 13th place after losing the Dull Try the Beef, who's 10-11 in 8th place. Uh, what happened here?
I mean, like I've been saying it all season. Daltrey has a good team. He sold off a good portion of his team. His team is still ridiculously good, and this result is no surprise. I mean, the guy has McKinnon. He's got fantastic goaltending. Man, McKinnon put up 3 goals and 7 assists this week. That's ridiculous. That's almost more than like what some people put up with their entire team.
They had a good week, Colorado. They had some weak opponents, and they feasted this week.
Oh, and we'll talk about that because I got lit up by Colorado all week. Like I barely scraped by Braden because of Colorado.
Yeah, they were something else this week, right? So good for Daltrey. Still fighting. I thought he was pretty much out. And all of a sudden things went his way, and he's sitting in the 8th playoff spot right now.
Yeah,
So sets
not
up
bad.
a dramatic finale this week. So
Agreed.
yeah. Big win for Daltrey. Sean, it's time to rebuild. Get yourself younger and better. NA goalie paradise. No surprise here. 6-15 and 0 in 14th place after losing this Fetch Me a Drink. Dan go improves to 12-9 and holds on to 6th place here. What happened here?
Well, Casey got his 9th loss in a row, but it looked like he was going to break that losing streak for a while. What happened is Dan made a comeback in a couple of categories on at the end of the week. Goals, he tied power play points, and then got game-winning goals, which was enough to squeak by Casey. Casey didn't have a bad week at all. He beat Dan's goaltending despite Dan getting a shutout. And yeah, it was just really tight, and Dan was kind of fortunate to scrape by the win here.
Hey, a win's a win. Good for Dan. Keeping pace here. He's holding on to sixth place. I mean, he's clinched now. Positioning matters, right?
It
Right now,
does.
he's in sixth. I'm sure he doesn't want to really match up with Travis. He might want to try and get into that fifth spot.
Yeah, yeah, we'll talk about that for
Yeah, we'll
sure.
review the standings there shortly. So, but big win for Dan. No surprise that he beat Casey, so we'll leave it at that. Forgot about Dre. 16-3-2 in first place. Take after defeating fantasy football is over. 4-14-3 in 15th place. I mean, no surprise here, but what happened?
You know what? This is actually a surprisingly like a regular week by Dre, but a regular week will kill Derek any week, essentially. The only thing Derek got here was the plus minus category. You know, Dre put up what by his standards, what I would say are mediocre numbers. Probably took it a bit easy this week. Enjoyed his week off, and yeah. So this gives him 16 wins on the year, and the all-time league record is 17 wins in the season. So he has a chance to tie the league record for most wins in a season this week.
Very interesting. Like, Dre, I know you've been watching lately, so if you're watching, like, you could tie the record, or you can lose and let Daltrey in the playoffs. Like,
Which might not be a bad strategy. I don't know.
yeah, because like if Daltrey does make it, he's playing Daltrey in the first round, right?
Exactly. Yeah, back-to-back weeks against Daltrey.
Yeah, that he's gonna mess up his lineup at some point during those 2 weeks. So a big win for Dre though. He might tie the best season, so good for him. He's having a really good year.
He is.
Wild Husky Hockey, 2-18-1 and 16. The bottom battle of the bottoms here of the last couple bottoms, we'll say the
Yeah,
Caucasaurus holders. Team Rocket coming out with the win, improving to 11-8-2 in seventh place, clinching a playoff spot. It's been a while since you've been in the playoffs, buddy.
it has.
And what
Yeah.
happened here?
Uh, I had a solid lead, and then God, I got my goalies from all my teams like face like tough teams all week, just got lit, absolutely lit. And the crazy thing is, I did 3 pickups this week, and I didn't use a single one of the players in the pickups because I ended up picking up Wedgwood to use him, but then Solar started unexpectedly because I think they're kind of resting Bobrovsky for the playoffs, which I'm okay with because then Solars gets more
Yeah,
ice
get some
time.
race time.
And then I picked up Varlamov for Sunday as a precaution, but I didn't end up needing him, so I took him out of the lineup because I didn't want to burn myself. I already had the win; he had nobody else playing, and then I ended up trading Varlamov in for somebody to use this week. So that was kind of interesting. But yeah, I took it easy, but I sweat a bit towards the end of the week, just because this is probably my worst goaltending week all season long.
I don't know if you noticed that Braden was a little active this week.
I did notice. Oh, and that's the other thing I wanted to say. Like, Braden probably could have beat me this week if if he didn't have so many goalies. Although, well, he ended up with 4. That's not bad. I think he had Schmidt, but he dropped him. Okay. Yeah, no, Braden was active this week and he gave me a run. Like, I don't think Braden has the worst team this league. I don't. I just,
So
I don't know.
that wasn't by accident. We've talked about it. Several GMs have talked about it. We know Braden doesn't watch the show. He's never gonna fucking hear this. Uh, he doesn't even know the
Yeah.
show exists really. But there's been a lot of talk this year about frustration over Braden's inactivity.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? We've had that talk. I know when we were drunk at the Super Bowl, several people were vocal about the inactivity. Um,
Mhm.
another GM approached me this week about it and was asking like, "Are we replacing him?" And I thought like my thought process was this guy's an original GM. I would like to give him a chance to kind of turn it around. And this GM went out and talked to Braden, had a big talk with him, and got him to get his shit together, saying like essentially like if you don't start being active, you will be replaced down the line, right? So
You know,
he
and
he made
it's
the
good that
commitment to improve for next year. So
that's good. And I think it's important, like, that we have those conversations, that we don't just say, give somebody the boot
yeah,
without having a conversation with them and giving them a chance, especially because Braden's been around for so long. And, like life happens. Sometimes
yeah.
life gets in the way. And then, but, you know, we give some grace and then we come along and say, hey, like, are you in or are you out? You know?
We're not expecting you to be a good GM. Just be active. Be around if people are trying to trade with you. Set your lineup, right? You shouldn't have
Yeah.
guys on the IR who are healthy and guys on your bench who are IR for weeks at a time. Like, you know?
No, agreed.
So the talk was had to him, not by me, by another GM who felt comfortable talking to him. And he got the message, I guess. So it kind of, the message I got was that it kind of scared the shit out of him that, hey, I need to kind of smarten up if I want to keep playing with these guys, you know?
Yeah, and he made me sweat this week. I'm not gonna lie, he made me sweat.
And again, we're not expecting perfection. Just be around.
Yeah,
Be around. That's all. Set your lineup, be around. If your team sucks, your team sucks. Just be around setting your lineup and participating. Because if
yeah,
not,
that's
find someone who wants to participate.
yeah.
So I think that was a positive that came out of this terrible season for Braden. I think now he realizes that just because you're an original member doesn't mean we'll give you infinite years to just fuck up. Like no, like be active. That's all.
Yeah, I agree.
Mentally bedarded. Oh, big win by you, by the way. Congrats on making the playoffs.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Mentally bedarded, 10 and 11 now in ninth place after losing a big matchup against Corey here, Saucier Pass, who goes to 13 and 8, now sitting in fourth place. What happened here?
Corey had a big week. 90 hits. That's it's kind of insane. I wonder if that's like a high for the season. But like all his guys were hitting. He got like 17 hits out of Tavares. That's pretty amazing.
Tavares has
Uh,
to do something. He's not doing anything else.
yeah. He put up good numbers. His goaltending struggled a bit. I wonder if he also had a lot of games against Colorado this week. Um, but yeah, 16 goals, 18 assists, plus 23. Yeah, solid week. Very unfortunate for Kyle. Kyle didn't have a bad week at all, but he ran into a good team here. And hopefully Kyle can clinch this week with his Braden bye week.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be the difference. That his schedule is by far the easiest than of anyone this week who's competing for that spot, right?
I,
So
I think it's his to lose. It really is.
yeah, unless a miracle happens and Daltrey somehow beats Nick.
Yeah.
I
And,
don't
and
see that.
not only does he have to beat Nick, he has to beat him by a good enough margin, like more than what Kyle beats Braden by.
Yeah. They'll have the same record, right? Yeah, they'll have the
Yeah,
same record. Yeah.
exactly. Where the other guys, they rank lower with the tiebreaker because of their ties.
Well, big week for Mentally Bedard, so it'll be exciting to see who's the last one to join us in the playoffs here. Um, the dumpster fire, 9, 10, and 2 in 11th place. Pretty much blowing it against Neil. He needed to beat Neil to really compete for that playoff spot. Neil improved to 12, 8, and 1. Big win for Neil, really solidifying his playoff spot, his ticket to the playoffs. He's sitting in fifth place right now. What happened here?
I mean, they pretty much split player categories here. But Neil's goaltendings took 4 of the 5 categories, and that's the real story here. Is that he can get good enough goaltending this week to at least take a couple categories from Neil.
I must say something about Neil, and some GMs are like that. But Neil does reach out if he really wants an outside opinion. He's not afraid to reach out for some advice, right? Um, and there are some GMs who will do that, but there's other GMs who you never hear about like talking with other GMs like, hey, what would you do in this scenario?
Yeah,
This is how I would approach it. Take it for whatever that's worth, right? This is the way I see it. But sometimes it's the right call. Sometimes you're set on some idea, but you get that outside perspective, like, okay, I'm too close to this. I need that perspective to really kind of make a good decision, right? Um,
yeah,
different
absolutely.
different
It's good
from
to get outside opinions. That way, you can ensure you're not being maybe biased or whatever. And it's good to get additional input. Whether you take the input or not is relevant, but you're getting additional input. It's making you think. It's making the hamster wheel turn in your head.
it's a
And
factor.
yeah, it's definitely it helps with the whole thinking and decision making process.
It, I reach out to people sometimes for an opinion. Like it's any GM could do it, right? It's just you go to up to someone who you value their opinion, and you're like, hey, what would you do in this case? And sometimes you just want reassurance that hey, I'm making a right call, or maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there's something I'm not realizing. But Neil with a big win, locking himself in that playoffs. Mark not making it, not here to ruin anyone's parade in the finals. I love it. Let's take a quick look at the standings here. As you can see, those top seven are starred in here. We're clinched. So Dre, no matter what's finishing first, he will play the eighth seed, whoever that turns out to be. Le Champion finishing second place, no matter what. I will play whoever ends up in seventh. Then we get a little more interesting here. Especially for Travis here. If he loses to me, he will get jumped. Well, maybe it depends if Neil Corey could jump him. I don't know who Corey's playing. Neil
Yeah.
could jump him. I don't know what the top, but probably because of
So
tiebreaker.
so for sure, if Travis loses, he'll be jumped because Corey and Neil play each other. So
Oh,
even if that ends in a tie, if it's a tie, Corey will pass him. Uh, if Neil wins, Neil will pass him because Neil will automatically have the tiebreaker. Um,
that's a possible first round matchup. Should Travis beat me this week, then Neil
uh,
and Corey could play each other.
yeah. So he is. It's difficult to say, but he could finish third or fourth, Travis, and it's tough to say who he's going to play in the first round because we don't know how that. There's a few different possible outcomes here, depending on how the Neil Corey game plays out. Dan plays Domo, which we know Domo's going to go down fighting, so that's not a guaranteed win for Dan. You know, and then I have my game against Sean.
Yeah,
So just
he should be Sean.
I should even if I do win, there's no guarantee I will move up, right? So like my worst case scenario is Neil and Dan winning. I will stay seventh,
Neil and Dan win, then you have a date with Team Ramrod.
which I do not want.
I would prefer that matchup to be honest. Like Dan's a wild card. Like Dan's team is like it's pretty stacked all across the roster, and I'd rather on the matchup that looks better on paper. To be fair,
Yeah, I don't really think there's much of a difference between us, between me and Dan, to be honest for you. But if that's what you believe, I guess.
that's what I.
Um, yeah, I really don't see much difference between me,
Well,
Dan,
clearly you guys have the
and
same
Corey.
points, so like
Yeah. Well, even like you look at this, like there's like what, like 3 points between me and third. Like, what's really the difference between the teams at this point?
there's not.
I'll, there's not much.
No.
Um, so I could jump up as high as fifth place with a Dan and Neil loss. I could jump up to six, or I can stay seventh. If I lose, I'm guaranteed to stay seventh.
Well,
Uh, so we'll see what happens. But what's really interesting is that as you move down, is, we got this four-way tie for eighth,
Yeah.
and there's possibility that uh, Captain Crunch could finish eighth under the right circumstances.
So
So
really, though, under the right circumstances, technically Sean could probably do that too if he's at 19 points.
I'm
It's the same
gonna say
same
I'm
record as Domo.
mm, yeah, he could. So what would need to happen? Daltrey needs to lose. Mentally Bedarded needs to lose to Braden,
That's
and then
the
he
big
needs
risk, the big if.
yeah, and then he needs a tie between Patches and Dumpster Fire because
Yeah,
they play each other, right? And then he
it's
needs Captain
slim.
Crunch to lose to Dan, and then he needs to beat me. So he needs like five things to happen, but it's possible.
It's slim, but it could happen. It's not.
Yeah,
It's not out of the equation here. That's a
the
big
most.
log jam, right? From 8th to 11th, all of them at 20 points.
Yeah,
You got two guys at 19 points. We just talked about Domo and Sean. And then there's the rest of the gang here, like Casey at 12, Derek at 11, Wild Husky Hockey at 5. Pains me to see Derek so low. His name is on this trophy.
it is.
Now he's suffering at the bottom of the league.
Yeah, he is.
The fantasy
Really
football.
unfortunate. He'll have to rethink his fantasy football life, maybe. I don't know. Um, but I think the most likely scenario is Kyle slipping back up into eighth. But anything can happen, right? Nothing is set in stone.
That's right. Oh, we only have 10 minutes left.
I'll go through our predictions quickly.
Yeah, that's good though. No, it shouldn't take us too long in the last week here. All right. This week, Le Champion takes on Braden's Biatch, second versus third. Who do you got here?
Uh, I got you because I'm going to enjoy the chaos of watching Braden's Biatch fall from third.
I like that. Me because of chaos. I'm gonna go with me as well because, well, that's just what I do. I pick Team Ramrod every week. It's only done me wrong 7 times this week. 2 of them were ties, but 5 losses. I'm gonna hopefully defeat Braden's Biatch and see a little bit of chaos. I'm all right with chaos. Team RKO, Sean, sitting in 13th place, taking on 7th place Team Rocket. Who do you have here?
I got Team Rocket all the way. Going to make it 6 in a row here.
I'm also going to go with Team Rocket. Again, I've been going with the standings a lot this year. I'm going to stick with that. There's a reason Sean's on the playoffs, and you are. So I'm gonna give you the nod here. This matchup though, fuck, who knows what'll happen here? Casey in 14th place taking on Derek, who's in 15th place. Who do you have here?
I'm going to go with Casey to end his losing streak.
Wow. I mean, if there's a team he's going to do it against.
This is the week to do it.
I'm going to second that only because I feel Casey has been active the last couple weeks, and I haven't seen too much movement on Derek's part. Casey's at least out there picking up some free agents to try and bolster his lineup for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I'm not seeing bad numbers
activity.
from Casey either. I think he'll string it together this week.
Yeah, he'll get that last win, solidify himself at as a 14th place team. Adultery, 8th place, taking on Dre in 1st place. This could be a first round playoff matchup should Daltrey pull off a win. Who do you got here?
Man, I would love to see the Cinderella story happen, but I think Dre is going to tie the all-time record for most wins in a season. I think he's going to do it. I think Daltrey will give him a hard time, but I think he'll do it.
I think Dre's going to win. What Daltrey going to do? Make the playoffs so we can not set his lineup in the playoffs? Like, no.
Yeah.
Dre is focused. He's gonna put together this win against Daltrey. Wild Husky Hockey, last place in the league, taking on Mentally Bedarded, who's trying to fight to get into the playoffs in 9th place. Who do you have here?
Man, Kyle's burned me the last couple of weeks when I've picked him. And you know what? Braden is also on the cusp of a record of tying the most losses in a season.
Yes.
Oh, but if I'm going to go with Dre for most wins, I'm going to go for Braden with most losses. So I'll take Kyle, even though he's burned me in the last couple of weeks.
I mean, it's a no contest to me. Like Braden, I'm never gonna pick Braden until he shows that he's kind of focused now. I'm done putting my faith in that guy until he shows me a little something. So uh, I have Plums this week. I think he'll win. He'll sneak into that playoff spot and have a date with Dre in the first round.
Agreed.
Hooligan, Patches O'Hooligan. You know, he might be able to dodge a wrench, but he couldn't dodge a ramrod. Taking on the dumpster fire here in a very important matchup, 10th versus 11th. Well, who you got here?
I'm going to go with Patches. Uh, I think he'll take this week, but I think he'll tie for a playoff spot, but end up in ninth.
I'm also going to go with Patches. I just think his team is better than Mark's. Like,
It is. I think so.
keep it simple. His team's just better than yours, Mark. And I think Patches is going to beat you. Too bad for Patches that he couldn't string together more wins and make it in because I think he has a playoff quality team. But yeah, that's how it happens sometimes. Heartbreak. Sauce Pass in 4th place, taking on Sorokin These Nuts in 5th place. Who do you got here?
This is a tough matchup. And I'm going to go with Corey because I'm cheering for a certain scenario to get me out of 7th. And so I'm hoping Corey wins, and then he jumps into the 3rd. Travis goes to 4th, and then I surpass Neil, and then I could play Travis first round.
Oh, play your boy Bubs.
Or if not, play Corey.
I think both these teams are really good. I think they're really evenly matched. It's tough choosing one. But just for the sake of having one pick different than yours, I'm gonna go with Neil.
All right.
It could have went either way. Honestly, I could see it even tying, but I'm gonna go with Neil just to add a little variety to our predictions here. The last matchup, Zets Me a Drink, Dan in 6th place. He's looking to jump up. Taking on Domo in 12th place, who has a really outside chance at making the playoffs. Who you got here?
I'm going to go with Domo because, again, I'm cheering for me to jump up here and not play you in the first round.
You're playing with your heart here. You're predicting with your heart.
I'm bringing with my heart with what I want. It's been frustrating to win 6 weeks in a row and move from like an 8th place tie to only 7th place after winning 6 weeks in a row. So I'm hoping I can gain some ground here.
That's fair. I'm going to pick Dan because I think Dan's team is just better than Domo's. I think what really hurts Domo's team is that he can't trade. So,
Yeah, yeah.
he's missing that extra effort that he usually has. He just can't do it right now. But I'm going to go with Dan. We'll see next week. I'll have our totals for the regular season predictions. And we'll be able to see kind of how we did this year,
Yeah, so I did get that entire list, so I have it ready to go.
Oh, you have it?
I did it. I did it yesterday,
You went through all the.
I went and rewatched the video, and I jotted it all down.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I have that ready to go. It's actually a pretty good list.
I'll send you a little bit more info. Unless you just take down all the other names I'd mentioned, like, oh, this person sent theirs in. Earlier in the year, there were some people who sent some in.
Oh, no, I don't have that. I just have what you picked.
Okay. I'm curious, like, how I went. I know I had some bad weeks. I had some good weeks, too, so it'll probably balance out.
Oh, I'm talking about your power rankings of, like, who you predicted would finish first, second, third, fourth, like, all the way to 16.
Interesting. Yeah, the power rankings. I was thinking about the predictions. I have all the records of the predictions.
Yeah, you got that. I got the power rankings, so.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. We can review that next week while we get ready for the playoffs. We all know we need filler stuff for the playoff time anyway. So yeah, except for the first week is usually pretty good. That second week, there's only 2 matchups going on. Like we need something to talk about.
Exactly.
No, it's gonna be an interesting week. We have less than 2 minutes, so I guess thank you for joining me, buddy.
All right. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure chatting hockey on a Monday afternoon when some suckers are out there working.
I got the week off.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And you got the rest of your life off, or
I don't know. Right now, it seems that way. I got to like August.
there you go.
Well, thanks for joining us, guys. Good luck, everyone, this week, except for you, Travis. Go fuck yourself.